Now, one of the most interesting parts of this is the hidden gems section. Hidden gems are wrestlers who have yet to be discovered, or we're just waiting for somebody to sign them up and give them the opportunity. So these are people who are young. They may not be essentially good yet, but if you gave them a chance, they're not going to cost very much to develop them. So we've got people that we recognise now, Andre the Giant, Roddy Piper. We know that they're going to be stars, but we need to make them. They're not just, if we hired Roddy Piper, he's not going to automatically be Roddy Piper that we know. So that's a creative meeting. Chemistry, that's basically like if two people hit it off, or if they become enemies or anything backstage, we'll know about it from here. Now, this is so complicated. Our product, it's right. We'll start from here. We'll go match ratio for an event, match ratio for TV. This is how many matches compared to how many interviews and promos you do in each show. So the higher it is, obviously, the more matches you're going to have. The lower it is, the less matches you're going to have. So if you had a couple of shows that were B-listed shows, where you just wanted to use interviews, you wanted to use video packages, backstage attacks, and what have you, you'd use a less match ratio. Expected match lengths for events, that's what fans expect from each of your matches, lengthwise. So a minor match would last for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and 20 minutes for a main match, which kind of coincides with that. So with a 90% match ratio and these kind of figures, we'd need maybe 4 to 5 matches each show to satisfy people. That's events. For TV, it's a lot less. So you can test people out on TV. You can do little angles and what have you. Match intensity, that's how hard the people work. The harder people work each show, the more likely they are to get injured, and the more likely they are to get fatigued. If they get fatigued, they can't work as hard, and obviously if they get injured, they might go out. So same with match danger. Match danger, it's people jumping off the top rope, it's people hitting people with chairs, it's people dropping people on their heads. So it makes for a more entertaining match for the fans, but it's not a very good business decision because it's such a risk that if somebody gets a concussion or something like that and he's your main guy, you're going to have to scrabble to find somebody else to fill his place because he'll be injured. Face heel divide, that's basically like people want to see a good guy against a bad guy. If we didn't have that, people would just come to see two people without characters or gimmicks or anything like that wrestle. And the 1970s was sort of that kind of era where this was starting to change. Beforehand, people would go to see wrestling, they'd see the big guy against the small guy. He wouldn't necessarily be evil, he wouldn't necessarily be good, it would just be a good match. Whereas face and heel, they would start to do interviews, or they'd start to do cowardly or courageous things in the ring, and people would get behind them, or they'd start booing them or hating them because of it. And that's what the face heel divide is. Women's wrestling, again in the 70s, it doesn't really exist, so we'll leave that as it is. TNA levels, well, you can probably figure that out. We've got all men on there, so we're not going to get any tits and ass out of that. Now, the product appeal, a traditional sense is, the very slow catch as catch can wrestling style. Mainstream, same kind of thing, but it's slightly more geared towards interviews and over the top characters. Comedy is self-explanatory. Now, cult, I can't remember what that means. A rebel, counterculture, alternative feel that appeals especially to 18 to 30-year-old males. Well, we don't really want that. Risque, that's, like I said, TNA, blah. Modern style of having matches that are fast-paced and heavy on spectacular, sometimes dangerous moves, and we're not going to do that. Realism heavy, like I said again, realistic holds, makes it look like it hurts. Hyper-realism, even worse. Hardcore, self-explanatory. Lucha Libre is people flying about the place, so we're not going to do that, but people that are 56. Pure. It's pure. back to basics approach of presenting wrestling as a real athletic contest. So we're sort of in that area, but we're not, because we're on TV. We've got announcers, we've got promos, we've got storylines. Daredevil, more modern approach of having matches. It essentially consisted of lots of big spots or jaw-dropping but not entirely believable moments. So we're not going to do that because it doesn't fit in with the rest of our product. So you can look at the trends, different game areas, what they're expecting, and what they think of our product. So the USA, we've got no effect because we're not covered there. Canada, we are sort of, so it's minor positive. So I'll just save that just in case I accidentally clicked something. Okay, we've got 2 teams. We can create teams, we can remove them, we can modify them, but these are just our tag teams basically. It's self-explanatory. History, we can just look at the shows that we've run, what they got, how much they made. Brand split, I'm not even going to go into that until we go into the main game because that's just too complicated. Okay, storylines. Without storylines, especially on televised wrestling, people just won't care. People will not buy tickets or tune in to see just 2 people wrestling. They will want to care. They will want to see the bad guy get beaten. They will want to see the good guy win. They'll want to see title matches. They'll want to see different dynamics. Because wrestling is essentially very commonly referred to as a soap opera. So we could do all that. Stables is like teams but much larger. But I'll explain that when we go on to the main game. Here are our announcers. So we've got Kent Walton, he's our only announcer, and he'll be used for events and both of our TV shows, World of Sport and Saturday Sports Time. It's got his announcing rating, how good he is at announcing, his charisma, and if we added other people, we could actually add a wrestler in here, but I typically don't because they're poor at announcing, but it's just sort of like a gimmick thing. So, but if we did have other announcers, it would show their chemistry, how much experience they've got together, and how well they work. So if you've got like Gorilla Monsoon and Bobby the Brain Heenan, they work really, really well together, and they'll make the match better, even if it's terrible. Okay, that's the creative part, and I'm sorry if I bored you, but this bit will take a lot less because it's just so easy to explain. But I hope you tune in next time for Let's Book with Dale Martin Promotions.